I would say the most embarrassing moment that I can recall. I still hate these guys for what they did, but I love them to death at the same time. So, because like
I didn't see him like
I'm
a year
still
after
scarred
that.
from that, man. Like that was like 7 years ago, and it still hurts.
Welcome back to our channel. My name is Taylor.
And my name's Jeff.
So I have some embarrassing stories to tell today.
Well,
I'm just embarrassing. Just like in general. Like I could probably think of embarrassing thing per day that happens to me. But I have some like extra embarrassing stories. And I just think it's good to share because, you know, we live in this world where we're always afraid to look dumb. And I don't know. I think we all have these little embarrassing moments, and there's going to be some of them that people might be like, think of something similar, but also I think it's just funny to hear other people's embarrassing stories. I just think that's entertaining to me.
yeah, because it's not you. Oh, that was loud.
I know we were talking, we were just out on the walk with the dogs, and we were just talking about something Jeff's been wanting to do recently is go back to Mexico. And so this is what really sparked this this remembrance of this story. Let me paint the picture for you. So we decide that we're going to go out, like we're on our first ever trip to Mexico. And
This was our first ever
big
really
vacation.
big vacation.
Yeah.
Like, before that, we went to like Eureka Springs for our anniversary or our honeymoon.
Yeah, that's a
So-
story in itself.
Yeah.
But so this is our first big vacation. We go to Mexico. We're in Cancun, and it was like the one night. Well, we went out a couple nights, but it was one night we decide like let's dress
Yeah,
up
let's look
and like
nice.
look nice and go out to dinner. And so we go out to dinner, and this was such a fun trip. Like
Yeah.
just all in all. And we'd probably been drinking all day long.
All day. That's really like one of the main reasons I want to go back to Mexico because I love those Miami Vice, man.
I know, and the
we were
pina
drinking them
coladas.
all day.
We're actually it's funny that we're talking about this because we decided to make
Yeah.
pina colada megawatt. That's
So
what we're
good.
sipping on in ice cold water.
Yeah. Every time I drink it, it's
Because
like
it reminds me of
nostalgic.
Mexico.
Yeah.
So let me just take myself back.
Yeah.
Okay, so been a whole long day of drinking, you know, Miami Vices, pina coladas, like super good. We're out to dinner. We're all dressed up, and and I'm in this cute little romper. It's long sleeve. It covered like it's kind of low cut, but everything covers. So I decided to not wear a bra because you just don't need to wear. I mean, you don't even need to wear a bra underneath.
I agree.
And then we go out to dinner. So we're at dinner. We're sitting there, and I probably have like 2 Miami Vices or
At dinner.
at dinner. Yeah. So at this point, like that's a lot of liquid to drink.
Mm-hmm. But
And
also in this moment, like where we're eating,
it's like a
we're-
nice restaurant.
Yeah, it's a very nice restaurant on the resort, and it's packed. Like every table, we had to wait for a couple minutes before you can even be seated. So every table around us, like, is pretty close, packed. Like every table is full to the brim.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, just set the standard for that too. I want to kind of paint that picture for them.
Also, this is an important note too. I had knee surgery, like a reconstructive knee surgery in September. And this trip was in November. So September, October, November. So 2 months after surgery. And I decided I want to try to wear wedges because it fit with the dress, and I knew I wasn't going to walk around too much. So I decided to wear dresses with the romper. So that's important too. There's so many factors to this. So we're sitting there at dinner. I'm drinking the drinks. That's a lot of liquid. I have to pee all the time anyways.
Yes.
But also I'm a little tipsy at this point because, I mean, we'd been drinking all day. I had a couple drinks at dinner. We were waiting on our food, so we hadn't eaten yet. And all of a sudden, like, we're laughing, and then all of a sudden it hits me. And I'm like, oh, I have to pee. And I'm one of those people that's like, when I have to pee, I have to pee. And you can already kind of like, I want you to just like, you kind of already know where this story's probably going. For some reason, I decided I didn't even take my phone, which if you're ever taking a trip out of the country, no matter where you are, you should always take your phone with you to like the restroom, especially if you're going by yourself. Like that's just a good safety measure to take. But also it's a good measure to take for,
Accidents.
embarrassing moments like this. So I am trying to scurry to the, bathroom, no phone. And I'm in my wedges, so I can barely walk because I'm still in, recovery for my knee. and I can't find the bathroom. And so I'm looking everywhere and I'm trying to go because I really have to pee, and I get lost and I kind of go around a couple times, finally find the bathroom. But it's one of those things that like after you realize you have to pee and then you think you're about to pee and you can't find the bathroom.
But you get close.
And you
think
get
you're
close.
close to the bathroom and you're like, oh,
and
it's
then you're
almost
like,
time.
oh, it's almost here.
Your
And
body
then
starts to be like, all right, it's time to relieve ourselves.
right.
That's
and
the worst.
I was like right there.
worst.
And at this point I'm like, oh, I can't find it. And I finally find it. And I finally found it. And I'm running in there. And I just didn't even care at the point. I just took, because the romper is like, for guys that don't know, it's like a one piece like type of thing. So
Very odd piece of clothing.
I just take the top off and I just throw it down and then I just go pee. And I just pee. I don't even think about it. Then once I was done, I realized that the romper was in the toilet. And I just peed all over, and I peed all over the romper. And I sat there, and I sat there, and I looked down, and I can't even, I'm going to mess this whole thing up. I look down, and there's my top. Like, it's all connected. Okay? Shorts, and then my top is in the toilet, and I peed all over it.
Oh, my gosh.
What do you do? What do you do in that situation? I'm sitting there, and I look down, and I just sit there, and I'm like, oh my God, no one else is in the restroom with me. I don't have my phone. I don't have a bra on. So my options are A, titties out.
That would have been the route I went.
No, absolutely not. Just everything out, walking out in front of everyone while the rest of the dress is soaked in pee everywhere.
I probably would have went full nude, honestly. Just drop the dress.
Option 2. Put the pee dress back on.
Oh, that's definitely the option you took, isn't it?
Oh, I ain't gonna go with the tatas out, Man. So
and I sat in my dirty pee pants all day.
Yeah, I had to make a choice. And it's one thing. It's one thing. It's one thing just to pee on yourself. It's another thing to wear it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to make the decision to put that back on.
And looking back, someone asked me when I was telling them this story, and they said, why didn't you rinse it off in the sink? And I said, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that. That's a great option. Unless someone would walk in and I'd be like rinsing it off with,
You could have
my boobs
easily
out.
explained that, though. I mean, you're in Mexico.
that's
they'd have been like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. So I had to make the choice. I didn't know. I didn't think about rinsing it off in the sink.
Yeah.
So I had to make the choice that no one would want to make. And I had to put the pee dress back on.
I got to say, if I found myself in that same situation, I would have definitely probably just walked out topless, just like covering the tatas, know? And it like just...
No, that's way more embarrassing. That's way more embarrassing. Yes.
Oh, man. But that's tough. I've never been in that situation, so I guess, I don't know.
I mean, would you want to walk somewhere holding your junk? Or would you rather just put it back on?
Remember who you're talking to.
That's true. That's true. You've probably done that for nothing.
Yeah, definitely not afraid to be nude.
So, I put the dress back on, and it's full sleeves too, the whole thing.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm putting it on. And the good news is, like, I look in the mirror, and you can't really tell. Like, because the fabric of the...
Yeah, it was very thin.
It's very
thin.
like
color.
And it's light color. You couldn't tell. But I knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anybody that walked past you knew.
And so, I mean, it didn't smell. It really didn't smell. I'll tell you that. Like,
probably smelled just like pina coladas.
Yeah, honestly.
That's
probably all it was. So I put the dress back on, come out and I'm at this point, I'm like, oh. So you would think, go straight back to the room, Taylor. I didn't have the key. Jeff had the key. Jeff had the key. There was my phone. I had nothing. Of course this would happen. So I come out and I see, and I was probably gone for a while.
Yeah, I was concerned at this point. I remember this because I was like genuinely getting concerned. I was like,
well, you got to think I was lost. Then I pee on the dress. Then I'm sitting there deciding what the heck I do. Mm-hmm. And then I finally come out. So I come out and I see Jeff and I have to I don't want to go all the way in the restaurant because everyone's eating food.
Yeah,
and
it's crowded.
I mean, you can't tell, you can't really smell it, but I know, and I'm not walking into the restaurant like in a pea dress, right? So I see Jeff, and I'm like, I'm no explanation. I can't yell the reasoning, across the restaurant. So I'm waving him down, and he's just like, just waving back at me.
I forgot about that.
He's just waving
I
right
was a
back.
little drunk too.
And so I'm waving him down. I'm like, come here. And they, the people we're with, they were looking at us like, they were like, what the heck is she doing? What is going on? And so finally Jeff comes over, and I was like, where do I even want to begin? Like, how, so now your perspective. What was your perspective?
I mean, I had no idea what was going on. I was just like, I when you were waving at me, like, literally nothing was running through my head. I was like, I don't know what she wants. What does she need? Like, I knew something was wrong, but I was like, I don't know what it could be. Did she poop her pants? Like, I don't know. Like, what happened? Your phone was at the table because I was going to text you, but I was like, well, her phone's here. So, I just remember, getting over there, and then we walked back to the room, and I was laughing hysterically because you told me what happened. I was like, wow.
Yeah. I said crazy. I didn't just pee myself.
No. You took your clothes off, peed on them, put them back on.
Yeah, essentially, So I get back to the room.
What happens in Mexico stays in Mexico until now.
Until you share it with the world. This was a couple years ago, by the way.
You're beyond that now.
Yeah, so I've gotten over it.
So looking back, what would you have done differently?
Rinsed it off in the sink.
That would have been the game.
100%. 100%. I would have just held my boobs. If a girl walked in, I would have said,
I would have. This is what I would have done.
I would have rinsed it off in the sink.
I would have grabbed some paper towels.
Yeah.
And I would have tore them off into like little circles, and then probably licked it, and then just slap them on the nipples like pasties.
No,
and just walked out and be like, Mexico, baby. This is it. This is my outfit for the night.
No, actually, people
probably
would
put them under that little the heater, the thing that blows heat.
Yeah.
Let them dry on there, so they stick. That'd have been the game plan for me.
Man. That would have been funny too. I did take a quick shower, change my outfit, and then went back, and then we ate.
Yeah, we finished dinner. It was a great night.
Yeah,
a great
it was
night.
A fun
we laughed
night.
about it.
Yeah, we laughed about it. We moved on, and here we are.
That was such a fun trip, man. I love Mexico. It's so much fun.
So if that gives you any insight as to what life with me is like, that's a good indicator.
Small glimpse.
That's just one. Glimpse. That's just one story I have. Do you want to tell any stories for you?
I would say the most embarrassing moment that I can recall. You know exactly what this is, and I still hate these guys for what they did, but I love them to death at the same time. So, when I was in college, and I think this was probably sophomore. You were there, right?
Oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah, so it had to be sophomore year in college. I got into this phase where I started doing like Cat Williams impersonation all the time, and I got really good at it. There just happened to be one night we were eating dinner in the cafe at college, and there happened to be an open mic night. I am not, especially back then, I was not someone to get in front of crowds, speak in public. I didn't want attention on me unless it was like a small crowd of my friends. Like I like being the center of attention for my friends, but not strangers. So, we were having dinner, and for some reason, those guys talked me into getting up in front of the entire cafeteria on open mic night and doing a Cat Williams skit. And
this was rough. This was brutal.
You talk about humiliation. I went up there with full confidence, though. I was like, I'm about to crush this. I'm about to get up here.
I mean, we all thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, but that doesn't count because the rest of the room was not impressed at all. I got up there and I probably went for like 3 to 5 minutes.
No, it wasn't. It probably felt like it was like 30 seconds,
no,
maybe
it felt
a minute.
like 30 minutes. I felt
well, because you got to think you only had like a couple lines you said.
Yeah.
But it probably felt like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was like a couple of minutes.
I get my heart's racing right now thinking about it. So they talked me into getting up there on open mic night in front of the full cafeteria.
How many people do you think were there? Like 100, 200?
Yeah, probably a couple hundred for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Oh. Man, and what's so funny now, okay, I'll finish the story and I'll tell that point. But so I get up there and I throw out a couple Cat Williams lines and literally crickets out there. Like you can hear the pots and pans clinking in the back where they're cooking because everyone's just like, what is he doing? But my friends were laughing. All five of them.
We were cracking
I don't know
up.
if they were laughing. They weren't laughing at the joke at this point. They're laughing at the humiliation that I'm going through, knowing damn well that they're the reason I'm up there because they talked me into this.
Oh, he was like, absolutely not, absolutely
no
not.
shot.
And they really talked him into it.
They got me, man.
They were like, everyone's going to love it. Even me. I said that too.
Yeah. They definitely peer pressure, and that's where I learned a lesson. I don't give a fuck what y'all say. I am not doing it if I don't want to do it. I don't care how good of friends we are. I will not get up there again.
That's awesome.
But I can only imagine the thoughts that were running through their minds of, man, that was super embarrassing. Literally no one laughed except for my friends. And I was just like, I don't even know how to exit the stage at that point. It was
I think you were like, all right, well, this is weird. And then you gave him the mic back.
That didn't go well.
That didn't go well. And then you went off, which I think is
and
the
then
best way to
I dropped out a
handle
year
it.
later. So
yeah. Here we are.
Yeah.
It all works out.
Didn't need a degree anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably absolutely the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever gone through because it was humiliating. And that's what I was going to say earlier is I can only imagine, and this is my head making it bigger than it is, but I feel like there's people that watched that night that are probably still talking about like, hey, you remember that one kid like in college that like got up and tried to do Cat Williams in the calf and it was horrible and no one laughed. I hope he's okay. Because like
I didn't see him
I'm
a year
still
after
scarred
that.
from that, man. Like that was like 7 years ago and it still hurts.
So my next story is this was me as an adult, and I have so many stories, so that we can make part 2 of this because I mean we would be here all day if I told every story that I had. But the job I did before I worked at First Form was I worked at a bank. I was a bank teller. Oh my gosh, I just do the most embarrassing things. Well, one of them being I was eating a snack or something, or I had just eaten lunch. I can't remember what it was, but I had just eaten and someone came by in the teller line through the window, right? So we had, I think it was 2 or 3 lanes, and they were like in, I think the second lane. So not the one right by the window, but a little bit further out. And when they had pulled up, I, was smiling. I introduced myself, asked how I could help. And anyway, I was waiting on the lady to get all the stuff and send it back. And I was just kind of standing there waiting and waiting. And you know how you can catch your reflection in the window?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause those are darker windows. Like you can see through.
Yeah.
But they have a good tint to them. So you kind of get a good reflection back.
Right. And so I was sitting there and I was just waiting, and it was taking this lady forever. So I kind of caught my reflection and I was like, I should see if there's something in my teeth. Cause she wasn't paying attention, and she was like, it was kind of blocked. Like the driver window was blocked. So it's not one where she could see me. And like our direct visual was blocked. I was like, I'm just going to check my teeth real quick. So I just started going like this, and like, what you do when
like
you're checking your teeth, like you're really looking. Well, as I was doing that and I was checking my teeth, I got a little movement in the background, and I was like, what's that? So then I refocused my attention on the vehicle,
right, and
noticed that there was a child in the back seat, scared to death.
This poor kid.
Because he's just in the driver, or he's just in the teller line, and the teller is doing this at him. Could you freaking imagine how scarring
like, Mom, this lady's growling at
me? Yeah,
me.
he probably thought I was growling at him. And I was mortified. I was like, no, because I'm putting it all together. And that kid just looked so scared. And so I book it back to my computer and stuff, and I tell my friend Kaylee, who was working at the bank with me, and I was like, Kaylee, you have to go help these people because I think I just scared that child. And I was like, I'll explain later. And at this point, she'd worked with me long enough.
Yeah, she knows.
She knows I probably did something super embarrassing. Everyone knows.
Oh.
And I try to think before I do things, but sometimes it gets the best of us, right?
I mean, you wanted to make a good impression. You didn't want to have stuff in your teeth and look unprofessional, so you just growled a kid. And
I just honestly, I was just bored. I was waiting for the lady, and and I just.
You should have at least hooked that kid up with like the whole jar of suckers or whatever, because you guys gave away like treats and suckers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she gave him extra suckers to like make up for my.
That kid's definitely telling stories about you now, because he's probably like a teenager at this point. He's like, man, when I was a kid,
there was a teller that growled.
He never goes back to that bank. Mom's like, hey son, I'm gonna go to the bank today. You want to go with me? He's like, nuh-uh. I ain't never going back. Place is haunted.
He's like scared of banks for the rest of his life.
That's funny. Good stuff, man.
Man, I just see this is what I'm talking about. Like, I just do embarrassing things. I hope people don't feel so alone in the fact of things that they've done.
I think anybody that gets the chance to spend a good amount of time around you probably feels better about themselves.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, I would agree. They're like, man, I'm pretty smart actually.
Yeah, I'm kidding, kind of. No, you're very intelligent, but you are funny. Like when we're both, it's the same thing. We talked about this yesterday.
I'm weird and I'm a little ditzy,
dude. Like here's the truth. I don't want to hang around with people that aren't weird. Honestly, like if you're like straight edge and just perfect all the time, like you probably live a good life, but it's probably boring.
Yeah.
And
you don't have probably funny stories to tell.
I'm not about that life, man. Yeah. I love telling stories.
Man, that poor kid. Since we're on this topic of embarrassing stories and just like, just other people's judgments of us and everything, and I think a big thing that people struggle with, one of the biggest things I see that hold people back, and this might be my delusion of how I've gotten to this point in my life, and not saying I'm like extra successful, but I'm way farther than, I even thought I would be. And a lot of that comes from not caring what people think. Yeah. And one of the biggest things that I see people I can't even talk. One of the things that I see that holds people back is how much they care about what other people think of them. And they're worried about if someone's going to think that they're dumb, or if it's going to be embarrassing or cringy or whatever. And the truth is it most likely will be, because you should be consistently growing. Like there are so many things, like some of the things I had to do to get to where I'm at now, such as like posting on social media and like stuff like that I needed to do that in order to start connecting with people and building relationships and providing opportunities and learning the skills of how to do it better. But I look back and a lot of the things I posted back in the day are so freaking cringy. Oh, man. And it's embarrassing, but I don't care, because what I've learned is that, if you don't put yourself out there and you're so concerned about what everybody thinks, you're going to live a life that is boring, and you're not going to be able to learn. You're not going to be able to grow. If you're constantly worried about what other people are thinking about you, which it's hard not to, I know both of us still do this to this day. Like we're not perfect at it. I don't really think anyone can be. If you're constantly worried about pleasing other people, or, not doing something because someone may say something that offends you, or they may not agree with it, or they may not like it, then you're not really living your life anymore. You're living life based off the opinions and expectations of other people. And that's no way to live. That's a very difficult way to live. Let's put it that way, because I know there are a lot of people that do that. And it's, I would say it's upsetting, because you're, in my opinion, I think you're limiting opportunity to really experience life and what it offers to its full ability. You got to make sure that you're living life to your expectations. And we've learned this from experience. And I think that we've been blessed to have, a lot of people in our lives that have shared this same message with us repetitively, not only shared it verbally, but through their examples, how they live. Right. And I think that's important for us to continue to live that way and share this the same way, because it's going to help other people learn this earlier and adapt and adopt this lifestyle earlier too. So they, think about how much our lives have grown since we stopped worrying so much about who supports us, or what they think, who says good things about us, or what they think about what we're going to go do. Everyone's different. And some people are going to have positive opinions on what you do with your life. And some people are going to have negative opinions on what they do with your life, or what you do with your life. At the end of the day, how do you feel about what you're doing with your life? That should be what's most important. If you are constantly looking for outside validation, you're never going to. I love when you do that. Ooh. Yeah, you get it. I know. Those are good thoughts. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. But it makes me laugh. Hype. If you're constantly looking for the outside validation, then you're never going to feel fulfilled, because you're never going to consistently get it. Because guess what? Here's what I've learned. There's always going to be someone that thinks what you're doing is stupid, that thinks what you're wearing is ugly, that thinks what you're trying to go after is cringy. You know what I mean? Like you're never going to make every single person happy. And there's always going to be someone that thinks like, oh man, that was embarrassing. But like, is that the worst it gets?
Right.
Because they're going to think it's embarrassing no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter which way you do it. And like, what do you like? What do you think's cool? What do you think's cute? What do you think's fun? Because that's truly all that matters. Because at the end of your life, you're not going to remember every little thing that everybody else thought and everything else did. And you're going to be like, man, I wish I would have done this, this, and this.
Yeah.
I wish I would have tried this, this, and this, just to see if I like it, just to see if I could, you know. But you're never going to know that because you're living life for everybody else. You're living everybody else's life. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that'll say, oh, that's cringy. Oh, that's embarrassing. But then they'll go home and they'll wish they were doing what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's tough. I feel bad for that mindset because, you know, both of us are in agreement with this. We want everyone to live their best life. We want them to accomplish as much as they can. And I think a lot of times people do get in this mindset of constantly like looking for flaws in other people so they don't have to pay attention to their own. They don't have to address their own problems. And that's a very easy way to navigate life because you're constantly throwing stones at other people and, you know, you're not fixing any of your own problems. So you're not having to confront any of those things. And like, we both know this from personal experience. Like you start to look internally and fix your own problems. It changes your life.
That's the freaking truth, man. If you were to spend the amount of time judging other people, because we've all been guilty of this too.
For sure.
And you would spend that time just trying to become a better version of yourself, it's going to be better for everyone involved. Because it does no good. I mean, on this side of things, it does no good. Like, there's some videos where I'll see someone's trying to post something on social media or do something. I'm like, man, like, you know, they got a long way to go, but hey, at least they tried. At least they're doing it. That's freaking cool. Like, I don't, at the end of the day, people that, like, I really want what's best for people. And even at the end of the day, that what I want and what they want is totally different. And you go through different phases of life too. What I wanted when I was 20 is different than what I wanted and thought was cool at 25 and different than what I wanted and thought was cool at 30. Like, Dude. Well, I'm not 30 yet, but as I'm approaching 30, like, you're going to evolve, you're going to change. And I don't want to, I mean, like, I have plenty of things that I need to work on. So I'm not trying to throw stones at other people because I got a long ways to go myself.
Yeah. So I agree, but I also disagree because some people aren't going to change because they don't self-evaluate. They don't self-reflect. They don't realize that they're doing anything wrong. So they stay in this high school mindset their entire life. And in high school, like you're in that phase where you're being bullied, you're being judged. Like, I don't care who you are. People in high school are making fun of you. People in high school are throwing jabs at you because like you're learning how to to live in a social norm. Yeah. Right. And like there's different personalities. So some people get so heavily stuck in that what I would call like that high school phase of like constantly judging other people, and they can't get out of it because it's more comfortable there. Right. And most, like a lot of people don't, that's that quote of the, you know, any quote about getting out of your comfort zone. It's not just about working out or any of those things. Like it's about life, growing out of yourself in life. You do that through uncomfortableness. Right. But like I said, a lot of people won't get out of that. And I think what you just mentioned is that's a mindset of abundance. And that's something that is, again, a very life-changing way to flip your thoughts. If you're constantly looking at someone and saying, okay, they have a long way to go. You know, what they just did wasn't perfect, but I want them to win. And I know because they did that first task, as long as they keep going, they're going to get better and they're going to get better and they're going to get better. And you want to see them win and you'll give them feedback. You'll give them advice because you want to see them win. And that's a very strong mindset to adopt because when you have a mindset of abundance, you know, going into like the thoughts of like law of attraction, the more that you want abundance for other people, the more abundance you're going to receive yourself because you're telling the universe that I want abundance not only for myself, but I want abundance freely. I want everyone to have abundance. And there's plenty of it to go around, right? There's so much success in the world that can be had, but people without an abundance mindset think that it's all or none, you know what I mean? Or one for all, right? I have to be successful over everyone else. Well, why can't we both be successful?
A big thing too is maybe that's just not for you. Yeah. And maybe that's just not for them.
Right.
And once everyone realizes that, and I think that part of that is like when you're willing to grow and mature in life, you realize that like, oh, you know, that's not embarrassing or cringy. That's just not for me. Because other people, there's a whole community of people that think that that's the coolest thing ever. That's not for me, but that's okay. Like, who cares? Like, life is too short and too meaningful to waste time so worried about everybody else. And just instead of, I mean, it's more fun. And the same thing with the embarrassing moments, like, telling, like getting up on stage and like, bombing that, or, peeing.
Bombing it. I thought I did good.
I mean, I thought you did good too. Other people didn't like it. Or, peeing all over your dress, or just doing silly things in life. Like, to me, yes, it's embarrassing, and I could, be so upset about every little thing. And even the maybe the cringy things I did, even just watching, we were watching my stories from just a couple years ago, and my voice sounds weird. I was not comfortable talking on camera. And I probably in a few years will look back at what we've been doing here and be like, oh my God, that's so bad. Like, I could have done X, Y, and Z better. But you just have to be okay with sucking a little bit at first. Anything you do.
I'm looking forward to looking back on those things.
Yeah.
Because we've got to experience that so much in our life at this point, like where we look back and we're like, we started something, it was uncomfortable, we sucked at it, but in the moment we didn't realize how bad we sucked, but we were going. And we got better, and then a couple years later we look back and we're like, dang. When you're able to look back and realize how bad you were,
you see how far you've come.
What that means is you've gotten a lot better, right? So there's a huge positive to that, right? When you look back and you're like, oh, that's cringy. Okay, it's cringy because you're so much better now. You would have never gotten better if you didn't start in the first place.
A lot of times you can't obviously choose your emotions. I mean, obviously you could try to make the best of situations, stuff like that. But like, honestly, like once you learn to laugh at your own mistakes and your own embarrassing moments, or, just kind of laugh off, like, everyone always asks, like, well, what do you do about the haters, or what do you do about people that aren't supportive of you, and X, Y, Z? Yeah, that can hurt. And I mean, there are people that still to this day will say, what are you guys, motivational speakers? And there'll be people.
Fuck yeah, we are.
Yeah. But, but there'll be people still to this day. We've been doing this for years, and people will all, like, I can't say all the time, but I mean, still, make little jabs or comments or backhanded, compliments, or, comments, that, are hurtful. Absolutely. It can be hurtful, but you just have to learn to shrug those off and remember why you're doing something to begin with. And you're doing it because it fulfills you, because it impacts somebody else, because you want to help somebody else through something. And to me, all of those things are worth it. And if someone doesn't like what we're doing, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Don't be a part of it. That's okay. And even honestly, I don't even care. I'll still be friends with someone that doesn't necessarily love what we do, as long as they're not like straight up being like hurtful about it and mean. Now, if someone wants to say like hurtful or like, what are you, a motivational speaker? I'll just cut those people out of my life, because to me, that kind of energy is not for me. However, if someone's like, they don't watch our stuff, or they don't like really like what we're doing, but I mean, they're like, hey, shoot, go for it. Whatever you want to do, we can still be friends, and you don't even have to follow me on social media. I don't care. Like, I don't care about that kind of stuff, as long as it's not straight up hurtful.
You can't expect people to support you until you've actually built something worth supporting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's very egotistical of you to say, hey, I'm doing something. Everyone should share my stuff. Everyone should clap for me. Everyone should say how great I am before I've actually done it. Mm-hmm. What? That makes no sense, So that's a humbling moment for yourself of like, all right, step back and what have you actually built? What have you actually done? What have you actually accomplished? Is it worth people supporting you yet? Will it be in the future? You believe that? 100%. But you have to get there first. And then then the masses will support you. Our goal is to share our experiences, share stories, and hopefully impact people to go take a step out of their comfort zone, do something that really, they feel driven to do, they feel called to do. There is a legitimate, real purpose and mission and vision for us that we have that is well beyond just how many views we're getting on a video. It's people. It's not views. Like, how many people are watching this, learning and applying and doing things that are going to make them better, so they get to go tell their story to another generation of people and change the way people think.
If I were to consistently seek outside validation and consistently care so much and put all of my value on other people and what they think, I would have quit a long time ago. That's one of the biggest lessons. And it's hard. It's really hard sometimes to, I mean, of course we ask, like, is this a bad idea? Is this a good idea? Like, I mean, we do care. You have to care to some point for sure. But you can't care so much that it debilitates you from even starting or from continuing when you do get those one or two haters or comments or, whatever it might be. But it's just learning to laugh at yourself knowing that you're going to get a little bit better, knowing it's just going to be a funny story that you tell a few years down the road. I mean, no one's meant to be perfect, and nobody is perfect. And
Dude,
I
no
mean,
one
that's
likes perfect.
no one likes perfect. It's not interesting. It's not fun.
It's not real.
It's not real. Exactly. And so, you know, I really love that, you know, we get to share this whole journey. Like it, that's one thing about like starting a YouTube channel specifically over starting something else is it's all out there.
Yeah.
It's all out there. But I like it because, you know, we're trying really hard and we're not perfect, and there's a lot we can get better at. And we've had, you know, people of course support us along the way, but we've also had those negative comments and people judging us, or, you know, I'm sure there's going to be things we're embarrassed of, but
what are people not saying too, right? Like that's something that's always in your head of like, well, there's a certain amount of people that'll say negative things, but it goes back to that same thought, like what are people thinking and not saying, you know, like, and you can't get too hung up on that. And that's what I was saying with the mission and having that bigger purpose.
Knowing your bigger why.
Yeah. Like when I think about that, it genuinely, I don't care what people think, because I know that what we're going to do is going to help people. It's going to help other people that are going to, like, even since we've started this, more like some of our friends, some people that we have so much belief in, we know have so much potential to share their story, have started their podcasts, have started things and sharing their story.
Yeah.
It's already happening, you know? So like, I know that as a collective unit, we're going to be able to do amazing things. So when you see that purpose, it's like, cool.
Yeah, I don't care what people think.
Throw whatever knives in my back you want. Like, I'm still going, and we're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna stop. No. I will absolutely take feedback.
Yeah,
and
accept it for sure.
Yeah,
there's a difference in criticism and talking shit.
100%.
If you are critiquing me and saying, "Hey, I watched your video, and you know I didn't like how you did this. I wasn't sure what you meant when you said this, or I don't know what that. You should probably try something like this." We're open to criticism, because that's
absolutely.
how we get better.
Yeah, because and even with some comments, there might be some truth to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I try to keep an open mind and not take things emotional.
It's a very great mindset to have, because when people there's likely always some sort of truth in an insult, right? Yeah. So
whether it be their perspective, whether it be, and like their perspective is a form of reality for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's some kind of truth to it. Maybe it's not what you said, but how you said it, how you made them feel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if it's their truth, the people that they have influence on, it's likely their truth as well. So if you can correct that, then you're able to impact more people. But what you said earlier, that same concept is a great point. Like someone can insult you or say something to you that hurts, and you can't control what emotion happens, but you can control how you react to it. And that's exactly what you just, kind of painted the picture of right there. If someone insults you, it's going to hurt, right?
Yeah.
It's like getting stung by a bee. It's going to hurt, right? But what happens after that is how you make the most of the situation. You get insulted and you look at it, okay, well, what did they say? Is any of it true? If it is true, how can I fix that? Mm-hmm. They're giving you free advice on how to change and how to get better. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to go improve and improve my lifestyle, or improve my success or opportunities for success because of your critiques, your insults.
Right. So what's helped us get to this point with understanding like the bigger picture and the purpose and how to take feedback and criticism and how to continue forward through, like, no matter what people think, and what has helped us grow, one of the most things is investing in personal development. Yeah. And so if you're someone that maybe you've been wanting to take action on something, but you've been really hesitant on what are people going to think of me, or what should I do? We want to give a practical application of something that, of course we had some fun. We talked about some life lessons, but what can you actually go out today and do that will help you become better? Because at the end of the day, that's what we care about, is helping you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, because this is just funny and stories from our life and lessons from our life. But the only way that it will really impact you is if you go take action. So, one of the biggest things that helped us that I really have loved is investing in personal development. And books is a really great, simple task that we do. And I'm someone that I hated reading in high school. I hated reading in school altogether. I'm a slow reader. I have to read things a million times. But I also have learned that I'm like best at reading first thing in the morning versus at night. Because at night, my brain is tired. I'm tired and I end up wanting to fall asleep. So if I do it first thing in the morning, I can like really comprehend what I'm reading. But I was going to ask you, like, what is your number one recommendation for a book and we can link it in the description below.
Yeah.
So, if you guys need a book to read, this is a really great starter book.
Yeah.
And I would recommend just focusing on 10 pages a day. If you can just don't try to, if you could do more than that, awesome. But what I've learned is if I can just have a goal to read just 10 pages, I'll read 10 pages, however long it takes, and move on with my day. And then over time, like we've been doing that for years, and we've read so many books, but it's just from like focusing on that 10 pages a day.
Yeah. It's funny too, because you said earlier, like one of the best things you can do is take action. And what actually got us to start reading in the first place was we listened to a podcast
that told us
the
to
MFCO
read.
project from Andy Frisella, like 2015, and he recommended it. It's kind of ironic because I'm going to recommend the exact same book, but he recommended a book on the podcast, and I took action from that. And then from there, it was like things just started to really slowly start to build momentum, and then got us to a point to where we are now.
You're investing more time in developing yourself than worrying about what other people think or what other people are doing.
Yeah, it's a great point.
And that's a life-changing perspective switch. Yeah. It's not just one little moment of your life, but the more investments you can make into yourself and into positive things and into things that matter and that are helping you grow, the less you're investing your time and energy into things that are holding you back.
Right.
So
for sure.
What's the book? I want to hear.
We'll also link Real AF podcast as well for you guys, because we've learned so much from Real AF and Andy and his whole team. And then so in 2015, Andy made a podcast, and we listened to it religiously, and it really did help us mindset wise. But he recommended actually 2 books that I'll give you guys, and take it or leave it. First, he recommended The Law of Attraction by Michael J. Lozier.
Good book. Yeah.
Really great book.
I love
short,
that book.
Easy to read. That's the first one I read. First one I started with.
Even your mom read it, and she
loved it.
Yeah, she loved it too, because it's
I haven't
also
heard anybody that read it that was like, didn't like that.
Well, and that's a really great book to read for like people that think negatively, and that maybe you're someone that, because I've been this way where I think negatively, and I focus on things that are negative, and it really helps you become more aware of shifting your thoughts. Yeah. So that's a really great book to start with, just to like, no matter what you want to improve on, it just will help you grow a little bit better.
For sure. And then the second book was The Magic of Thinking Big.
I want to reread that one.
Yeah, it's probably about time. I think I've read it 3 times.
But it's literally been since probably 2016 since I read it.
Yeah,
so
you definitely need to read it.
I definitely need to read it again.
Every time I've read it, it opens, because you're in a new phase of life. You've grown from where you were previously, and
it would be totally different if I read it this time. Yeah, I'm in a different mindset, different lessons.
Yeah. So both of those are really great books, especially great books to kind of start out with like personal development or improving yourself. Because the Law of Attraction helps with the mindset of like, honestly, I think the biggest takeaway from that for me originally was proactively thinking about what I think and how it's going to affect me. That was so helpful. Secondarily, the Magic Thinking Big, exactly how it sounds. It helped me expand my mindset and understand that it's okay to think big. It's normal to think big. It's you should think big. Right, you shouldn't be focusing on or aiming for small things. You should try to grow. You should look at accomplishing as much as you can, and it's okay to think that way. So yeah, absolutely. Those are 2 of my favorite books, especially intro level books that I've read, and I love them.
Yeah. So we're going to try to do more of that on these podcasts, is leaving with like, as we talk about like funny life lessons and, serious life lessons and stuff like that, we want to, try to add more things that you guys can actually go do that will help you progress forward in your life. So, I hope this was helpful. This was a fun episode. Yeah. I loved it.
I enjoyed
it. I anything that you guys also want us to talk about, like we've done quite a few of these. So if you've listened to more than one, I say quite a few, we've done a few of these. So if you have, one episode that you really like that you want us to talk more about, feel free to put that below. If there's a different topic you'd like us to talk about, feel free to put that below in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you in the next one.
Nailed it.